Since the great success of the LEGO 501st Battle Pack, LEGO has released a ton of clone-focused sets, which is good, but at what cost? And with that, welcome to today's set review of set number 75431, 327 Star Coast Clone Troopers Battle Pack. This set is of course part of the LEGO Star Wars 2025 Summer Wave. It comes with 258 pieces, 7 minifigures, and a price tag of roughly €40 and $45, which is interesting to say the least. We're gonna discuss the price later, of course, but yeah, the price is just... oh man. Taking a look at the front of the box art, we have, of course, the 327th Troopers in action, same goes for the Super Battle Droids, and it's based on Felucia, which is really great, I really like that. Of course, the most iconic scene that Troopers are in is Felucia, and it's great. On the backside, it's pretty similar art, yeah, a different scene, but nothing special. When opening this set, on the inside you're gonna find a total of 3 numbered bags, 2 instruction manuals as the builds are split in 2 sections, and a sticker sheet which carries all the details for the AT-RT Walker. Now starting off with the first minifigure of this set, this is the 327th Clone Trooper. You get practically 4 of these figures, which are all the same, and in my opinion they look amazing. I really like the printing on the helmet, looks great. Then you get some great printing on the torso with the continuation of the pauldron. You get some, I think, ammo pouches over the right shoulder, and these yellow details all over it. Then you move further down and you see once again those printed waist capes, and I don't know, this just makes me sad. The trooper looks amazing, but those printed waist capes, they aren't a solution. I don't know why they can't include cloth capes. I don't think that this hinders the articulation or anything. You can still move the legs, you can still play with the figure, you can still sit it down, and if you don't like them, just remove them. It's as simple as that. Stop giving these lazy reasons, LEGO, and start including those cloth pieces again. However, which I think is a great change, is the new pauldron piece that all these troopers get. It's a new mold, which you didn't have before with your LEGO Clone Troopers. Of course, the pauldron is a little bit bigger, so you can still move the arms and have some range of movement there. But I think it's solid, it still looks good, and I don't care. It's a great piece, the printing on top with the beige looks good. It's a nice piece, I like it. Under the helmet you're gonna find the standard Clone Trooper face, which is pretty much now the standard. Yeah, nothing special, just a basic Clone Trooper. What I find interesting about these troopers is that LEGO decided to give them yellow arms, and most of those 2020 and after Clone Troopers had white arms, and all the 2014 troopers had the arms that represent their Legion color, which I don't know why they now change it up. I think this would have been the better decision from the get-go, because when you look at these Phase 2 troopers from behind, they look pretty similar, and with the different colored arms you could differentiate them. Yeah, I prefer the fully colored arms, so yeah, I think it's a good decision, but I don't know why they now switch it up and not from the start. And here's the reason why I said you get practically 4 of the same figures. Of course, they're all the same figures, except that one, according to the instruction manual, gets this little rangefinder on top, which is included. I think there are 2 pieces or so with the extra piece that you get, so you can give these rangefinder pieces to 2 of the troopers, which of course, because of the helmet holes, you could give it to any trooper or just remove it. Yeah, it's a solid extra piece. If you have a bigger army, you would probably remove them just to make the troopers look the same, but it's nice that it's in here. But when you have multiple of these troopers on the same spot, they look amazing. I still can't stand those printed waist capes, but otherwise they look really cool. I think a bigger army is gonna look amazing, especially with the new blind minifigure from the MTT, which I'm gonna review soon on this channel. Yeah, they look really amazing, cool troopers, finally we got them. Now moving on to the more boring side of the minifigures, but still, these are really great droids. You get some B2 battle droids, which of course is the new mold from 2024. They look really cool, they're feeling pretty stable. Of course you have to see how they do long term compared to the old versions, but they changed the mold and I think they will hold up way better over time. They look great, some nice detail, you get 3 of them, can never have enough B2s. And when you take a look at the minifigure lineup as a whole, they look amazing, but you might think that there are 2 minifigures missing. And yeah, you're right, 2 B1 battle droids are missing for sure. When you compare the set to the kind of predecessor from 2024, the Clone Trooper vs Battle Droids Battle Pack, you get 9 minifigures with 2 extra B1 battle droids compared to this set, and the set was cheaper. It cost €30 and $30, and this one costs €40 and $45. So why are here 2 minifigures less? Of course, battle droids are not the same as a Clone Trooper, but still, why are here not 2 minifigures more included? It doesn't make any sense, and you can't tell me that the pauldron piece was so expensive that they had to include 2 battle droids less. Now taking a look at the build that you built first, as I already said, these are split into 2 sections, you get another dwarf spider droid in the set. Now while I still don't understand LEGO's obsession with this droid and why they didn't include a crab droid in the ATTE from 2022, I do have to say this is a pretty nice build. The way it looks when it's fully built looks really great. I like the eye sections with these red clear tiles. I think the angles are nailed really well. The antenna with this sword piece is really nice. I like the legs and everything, how he articulates. He has a little trans clear brick under him, so he doesn't crumble under his weight so easily. You can articulate, of course, the front of his cannon, which is nice. And you can also articulate each of the legs. You gotta be a little bit careful, because sometimes you can rip them off if you aren't careful enough, but otherwise it's a pretty nice droid. Now moving on to the probably most boring part of the set is this little stud shooter cannon. They've been including this in a couple of battle packs recently, and yeah, it's solid, you can fire it, but yeah, it's really nothing special and nothing to look forward to. And now the last and probably most exciting build is of course the AT-RT Walker, and it's surprisingly good. I didn't expect this quality from this build here, as I usually don't like battle pack builds in general overall, because they're mostly a little bit lackluster and you don't have as many pieces as in regular sets, so they're often not that nice. But this one, I like it. I prefer this one over the 501st Walker that you got in the 501st Battle Pack back then in 2020, because it feels like, at least for me, I don't have the other one to compare it right now, as I don't have it built, but it is a little bit smaller, which is more accurate to scale. It's still very oversized compared to actually minifigure scale AT-RT, but I like it. I think it's smaller, looks better, and the only flaw I see is the stud shooter at the front, which makes the model look really ugly, I think. If you just switch this out for a normal cannon, I think this is a really nice build. You've of course got a ton of stickers on the front, which is, yeah, I don't like it, but for battle pack build it's fine. It had some nice details, but otherwise, I think the building techniques on everything around this Walker is nice. You get some cool details on the legs, which looks really cool. Some nice details on the feet and also the antenna in the back of the main build. And also these angles at the front of the Walker. It's overall a really solid build. Now when it comes to play features, you can of course move up and down this little cannon. You can shoot it if you hit the button, which is not that easy. You don't want to break the cannon loose. You can also move these little tiles here, which is not really a feature. It's more to achieve the angles, but it's still there and you can do it. You can move the legs up and down. You gotta be careful a little bit to not rip them off. But otherwise they articulate really well. The middle leg's on the same kind of hinge or like these ratchet joints, so you can articulate it pretty much the same way. The feet have also a little bit range of movement, not as much, but you can still articulate them. And you have a little storage here and the backside for some weapons. And you can also move the antenna here up and down, which is probably also more a building technique thing than a play feature, but you can do it. The clone sits in there pretty secure, it doesn't really fall off or anything. You can get him in there pretty easily and also get him off pretty easily. You can give him of course the steering wheel so he can ride the AT-RT. And overall I'm pretty happy with this build. So what are my final thoughts about this set? Yeah, I don't know, it's a mixed package. I really like the clone troopers and I'm so happy that we finally got the 327th Legion and also Bly in another set. I'm very disappointed about the printed wastegapes once again. I think the new pauldron piece is nice and overall these troopers look really sick. I like there be 2 battle droids once again included with this set. I think the fact that in this set there are only 7 minifigures compared to 9 from the battle pack from last year is pretty sad. Especially with the price bump that this set has experienced, and it's clearly on a similar idea. Yeah, overall the set is way too overpriced in my personal opinion. I think it's not worth 45 bucks or 40 euros. It's a very nice set and I like the troopers. I like the minifigures here, even though there should be 9. But the price is just, I don't know. I don't know how they come up with these prices, in my opinion, way too expensive. But yeah, that's just me. But now of course let me know down in the comments below what you think about the set. Is it really overpriced or is it maybe a fair price? What do you think about this? Do you like the troopers? What do you think about the cloth piece situation when it comes to LEGO Clone Troopers? And I hope you enjoyed this review. If you're new, please consider subscribing and to like this video to support the channel. Otherwise, have a great day. The continuous downscaling of LEGO Star Wars vehicles has been one of the worst trends in LEGO's history. And we may have just reached a point where it's too much. And with that, welcome to my set review of set number 75413, Clone Tiny Republic Juggernaut. This set is of course part of the LEGO Star Wars 2025 summer lineup. It comes with 813 pieces, 8 minifigures, and it retails for roughly 150 euros and 160 US dollars. Yeah, we're gonna discuss this outrageous price tag later. Now to start this review off on a positive note, I have to say I really like the box art. While it's not my Gitu and I don't know where this takes place and I still don't know why it's a Juggernaut and not a UT-80, I do have to say the box art looks really amazing. With all the Galactic Marines, Bukhara, Ki-Adi-Mundi and the Juggernaut in action, Looks really great. I really love the front of the box. The back of the box is solid, it's the same kind of scenery and landscape. You get a couple of features there and the Juggernaut when it's open, so you can see the interior. Nothing to brag about, but yeah, it's a solid backside. Now when opening the set, on the inside you're gonna find a total of 6 numbered bags. Yeah, this is where the first alarm bell should start ringing. It's 6 bags for 160 bucks. You're also gonna get an additional bag with some sand blue parts. I don't know why they're packed separately, but this is just how it is. And you're also gonna get the instruction manual with a pretty straightforward building process and a small sticker sheet. Once again, keep in mind, this set costs 160 bucks retail. 6 numbered bags. Yeah. Moving on to the figures and starting with one of the most exciting releases of this year. This is the Galactic Marine. You get 3 of these troopers in the set, which are all the same. And I do have to say, besides 1 or 2 nitpicks, this is an amazing minifigure. I love this maroon red color on the Galactic Marine. You get some nice torso printing with these belts and everything and the pouches going over the torso. And also some scratches from the battle. You get some nice leg printing, and once again, the big disappointing thing here. It's not a physical waist cape, it's once again a printed one, which just doesn't look good. It doesn't do the same job as a physical waist cape does. It looks bad, it looks cheap. Just switch it out for a regular waist cape out of cloth. Otherwise, the torso and leg printing looks really awesome. Some nice details there, I can't tell anything that is wrong on here. And there's also hip printing, so the torso transitions nicely into the legs, which is awesome. What I also think is really nice that it didn't fear the cost of making a new helmet for the Galactic Marine. Instead of reusing the Snowtrooper helmet, which was kind of the community rumor for a long time, if they would do Galactic Marines, they would probably reuse it. No, this is a totally new helmet, it's dual molded, it looks amazing. The maroon red is a separate piece and the white thing is a separate piece, looks amazing. However, the helmet is still not perfect. The print for the eye section, or like the lenses, is a little bit too deep down instead of directly under the red part, which looks a little bit goofy, but you can't notice it too much, so it's fine. The bigger problem in my opinion is that the lenses aren't like this dark green color, like you see them usually on Galactic Marines. I don't know why they did it in black. It's not the biggest problem for me, it doesn't ruin the minifigure for me, but I don't know, these in green, I think it would have been a way better look on the helmet. Now under the helmet you're just gonna find the normal standard modern Lego Clone Trooper face. I like this face, I think it's a very solid face for Clone Trooper, it's good. Now when we take a look at the backside of the Trooper, it is a little bit disappointing. There is a backpack that is brick built, but they didn't print the tile, which looks a little bit cheap and like something's missing there. I don't know why, I think a simple print could have just elevated the look from the back of the figure 10 times. But yeah, they cheaped out on this in my opinion and it doesn't look that great. If you take the backpack off, which you're probably not gonna do because Galactic Marines have backpacks, but there's still a very nice print on the backside of the torso, which looks really great. Sadly, this backside gets a little bit ruined by the unprinted tile on the backpack. And now taking a look at one of the last very important missing clone commanders, this is Commander Bakara. And I do have to say overall, I think he's really nice, but he has a couple of flaws, which is a little bit disappointing. But for a little heads up first, I think the helmet is almost flawless. I think the molding that they created specially for this helmet mold, as it's of course a very special silhouette this helmet has, is amazing. The little antenna that is molded into it is awesome. These flaps that go on the side of his helmet down is really great. I also really like the printing of his helmet, like the 2 red dots are right, these stripes are right on his cheeks. And the only issue I have is his mouth section. It is a little bit too small and doesn't fully go till the cheek area, if you know what I mean. It looks a little bit too small and doesn't look right, but otherwise it's a great helmet. Now the torso may look accurate in the first look, but it isn't as great as it may seem. The straps that going across the torso are right, however the breastplate is black and not grey with the maroon stripe, which is sadly inaccurate. Also in general there's not enough maroon on this figure in terms of color, so it leaves a little bit off balance and just he seems too white overall when compared to his movie look of the armor. Yeah, sadly it's not an accurate torso print, which is disappointing. Speaking of disappointment, of course, once again, this figure doesn't come with a physical waist cape. It's these 2 red stripes that should simulate the look of a waist cape. It doesn't do its justice, it doesn't look good, it looks weird from the side as a little cutoff. Yeah, the rest of the leg detailing is really nice, I like it, but these non-physical waist capes, I don't know why they keep doing this, it just ruins the bottom section for me. Under Bakara's helmet you're just gonna find the normal standard clone face, so not a special face for him, but I don't even know if we ever see him without his helmet, so yeah, I don't really care about that. Overall, I still have to say they look awesome together, especially Bakara with a bunch of Marines and then Ki-Adi-Mundi somewhere. It looks amazing still, but yeah, the little details that they could have changed and made these figures perfect is just sad. It's a little disappointing, especially considering the big price tag on this set. I feel like there are a couple of flaws here that should have been corrected in the first place. This is just, I don't know. I'm still very happy that we got these characters finally in Lego form, and I think mostly they're good, but they're just close to being very, very good or perfect, and I don't know why they don't want to do this. And here is the last character missing to make the squad perfect. This is of course Ki-Adi-Mundi. If you're gonna put Galactic Marines and Bakara in a set, you of course have to put Ki-Adi-Mundi in it. Usually I would also want to see a UT-80, but yeah, this is a discussion for later. But I have to say Ki-Adi-Mundi is a flawless figure. I have really nothing where I could criticize this character here. It looks amazing. I think the torso printing looks really awesome with the Jedi belt and the printed robes here. Then it moves down to the legs with the hip printing, which looks really great. Really nice detail here, can't complain. Contrary to some opinions online, I don't think that Ki-Adi-Mundi needs arm printing. If you look at the costume design of him in ROTS, he doesn't really have anything than this beige sleeve here, or like this beige top outfit. I don't think there is arm printing really necessary. The printing on the head looks really awesome, and also of course this molded piece for his, top part of the head looks really great. We've had this for a couple of years, but I still always like it when they include it. There's also some solid printing on the backside of his torso and the head. Yeah, I think it's a really nice looking figure with the lightsaber, looks really great. Lego also threw in 3 battle droids, which is not much more than a throw in really, but I really like when you get a bunch of battle droids in a set. B1 battle droids don't need any kind of change. I think these minifigures have been perfect for all these years. Really great. I always like when they put some droids in a set. Now that we've finished talking about the minifigures, I think we have to take a look at the Republic Juggernaut. And to be honest, if you ignore the price tag and some of the flaws that we will go over, I think for this play, this model is really solid. It's not that big and we will talk about that later, but from the silhouette and the building techniques and all the angles that they do, I think it's a really solid model given the scale it is built in. Looks wise, it's way better than I expected. I think when I first saw some pictures from the leaks, I thought it would look like a 4+ model, and this is not the case, it's just very small. Now the first play feature in the set is the crow's nest, and you can of course put a Galactic Marine on there. This doesn't look really that good, I feel like, because it's pretty open and it looks just a little dumb when he stands on there. You can of course move this up and down and it stays in place pretty solid. The only problem is they didn't include a stopper at the bottom of this thing, so if you're uncareful enough you can just pull it out, which I don't know why. It wouldn't have been much more effort to just include a piece that would stop you from pulling this thing out completely. I don't know why. With this set being a Juggernaut, the most important feature is of course the rolling ability. You can pretty easily roll this set over your desk or floor. I think it will even work better on carpets. You can also turn this set and tilt it side to side, so you can steer either in the right or left direction. And there's a little rubber piece on one of the wheels on each side, which is able to push the set back into its normal position really nicely. Back then they used something different, they used normal springs, which they now switched out for these rubber pieces, but it works, so I'm happy with that. And then there's also this little turret or radar dish, I'm not entirely sure what it is. You can turn this around 360 degrees. The Juggernaut has 2 cockpits and you can open up both of them. You can open up the bigger one by opening up this top, but you have to move up the crow's nest to really access it. When you also open up both of the side panels, it gives you a good amount of space to reach in, and it reveals this little cockpit area with a sticker in there. You can also put a Galactic Marine in there, but you can't put them with their backpack in, so you have to remove them, which is basically the same thing that you could do if you didn't want to sit the minifigure with a Karma. So, Lego, why don't you include these physical waist capes? The backpack is also a thing that hinders them to sit down. On the front you're gonna find a pretty big sticker adding some nice detail. I'm not the biggest fan of stickers, especially not with such a price tag. Now, when it comes to the brick-built wheels, I have to say I think I like them more than I thought I would. I don't know if I still prefer the old wheels on the previous turbo tanks, or if I prefer these brick-built versions, but I think they look really nice. The sand blue color is pretty accurate to some renders from the Clone Wars, and I think it also looks really good. So yeah, I don't really have to complain much about these wheels. They're also pretty sturdy, so I don't really fear them falling apart while playing with this set. On each side of the turbo tank you're gonna find one of these stud shooters, which you can fire pretty easily. However, they're too far down on the model, they should be further up, and I don't know why this is an issue. You can of course move them up yourself or just remove them, but yeah, why is this an issue? Just fix it before releasing this model. On the sides you're gonna find another turret and some more detail, also some stickers on the front like these red stripes there. I think all of this looks really solid. On the top there's this little hatch that you can open up, but there's not really anything in there. It's pretty much wasted space and just for the shaping. Then you can open up the roof from the turbo tank by grabbing the little satellite dish there. And this is a pretty nice way to access the interior, which wasn't in previous models of the turbo tank if I remember correctly. I really like this change. This reveals quite a solid amount of interior space, which you wouldn't expect on such a small model. You also got some space to store all the blasters. You can put all minifigures that are on the Republic side in this set, in the set itself. Additional to that, you can also fold down the sides from the turbo tank to access the turbo tank from the sides. Unfortunately, you cannot access the other cockpit by opening up the sides from the turbo tank. They are only there on a slight angle to provide the right shaping for the set. On the top you can put a Galactic Marine into the gunner position of the stud shooter, which you can also fire. This is a nice play feature and looks actually really cool. I like how he's standing in there. It looks just, I don't know why, but it looks cool. However, what I dislike about this little spot here is that there is no hatch that you can close it. So if there's no Galactic Marine standing in there, there's a big gaping hole in the rooftop, which looks a little weird. But you're able to access the interior by opening up this whole hatch. You can put a Galactic Marine in there. However, you need to once again remove the backpack. And in this case I even had to remove the thing the backpack is attached to. So either LEGO stop including backpacks, which please don't stop including backpacks. Or you could just also include physical waste caves, because you can just remove them as well when putting something down. Yeah, I don't know why, it's still a thing that I don't understand. You have to reach in there pretty deeply to actually sit the Galactic Marine down. However, when he sits he gets quite some amount of space. And there's a sticker detail as this little cockpit control piece with some entities on. Speaking of sticker details, most of the details you're gonna find at the front of this cockpit side. These are all stickers, the red details are not brick built or anything, these are 4 stickers at the front. Now let's compare the Juggernaut to the ATTE from 2022. The ATTE does not only come with around 250 pieces more, it also has another minifigure more, and it also retails for $20 or 10 euros less, which is crazy. And now just seeing here the size comparison, I don't know, this just makes me sad. 160 bucks for this turbo tank is in my opinion way too much. The ATTE seems way bigger, more accurate to scale, looks better, feels better as I said overall. I don't know, the Juggernaut is just a little disappointing. One of my biggest criticisms about this Juggernaut is the lack of a carrying handle. As you can see, the ATTE does have a carrying handle and the Juggernaut doesn't. This would usually be around the middle section here, but there is nothing, so you have to either carry it from the middle or carry it with 2 hands from the front and the back, which is just not as intuitive as just a carrying handle. I don't know why we evolved backwards, but yeah, I think carrying handles were pretty much standard and now I guess they aren't anymore. Now when you handle the set with a little bit of care and don't shake it, it won't break, but I feel like if you play with it a little bit more roughly, like a kid would maybe do, it is easily to break this model when you handle it at the wrong position, which is just not nice. And this is due to the reasoning that the top is not really secured by Technic pieces, it just sits on these little pillars here, which doesn't protect it at all from force going from above. So this is a little weak when it comes to the design. And while I don't think that you should be able to pick up the Juggernaut by the roof when it is open or anything, when you pick it up by a pretty normal position and just maybe play a little bit harder with it and it falls apart, this just can't be the best design the LEGO could come up with. Just a little more Technic pieces and just more pieces invested into the stability, which would definitely be possible by such a budget. I don't know why they didn't do this. Yeah, this is just, the stability is not as big of an issue as some people try to point it out online, in my opinion, but it still is not the most sturdy model and I don't like it. So what do I ultimately think about this set? Is it the worst set that LEGO's ever released? No, definitely not. I think it still has a nice silhouette and catches the look of a clone turbo tank or Juggernaut, how it's called in the universe. And there's some awesome minifigures which have some flaws, but it's still a nice selection. Is it one of the most controversial sets? Yeah, probably true. I feel like the price is just way too high. It's my personal opinion, of course, but yeah, 160 bucks for just about 800 plus pieces is not really what I would consider fair. I think this is just way too overpriced. I think for the piece count you could have done an UT80 and made the set cheaper. But if you choose to do a turbo tank or Juggernaut, maybe build it bigger and include more pieces or lower the cost for the set that the consumer has to pay. I feel like this is way too overpriced in my opinion. It has a lot of flaws that are there. It's not the worst set, but yeah, it's probably the most disappointing of this wave. But now definitely let me know down in the comments below what you think about this set. Is it the worst set that LEGO Star Wars has ever made, or is it just, way too overhated? Do you like it or not? What do you think about the minifigures? And most importantly, will you pick the set up or skip on it? If you're new, please consider subscribing. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like to support the channel and don't miss out on the other LEGO Star Wars 2025 Summer Wave reviews. And other than that, have a great day. After 17 years, LEGO finally remade this vehicle. And with that, welcome to my set review of set number 75432 V19 Torrent Starfighter. It is of course part of the LEGO Star Wars 2025 Summer Wave. It contains 567 pieces, 3 minifigures and retails for a retail price of roughly $65 and euros. On the front of the box we see a beautiful image of the V19 Torrent Starfighter in some kind of space battle. We don't know for sure where this is, or at least I don't know, but there are some explosions in the background and I really like this front picture. And on the back of the box we see a couple of play features. We also see the V19 Torrent in a landed position, and we see Asajj Ventress and Obi-Wan Kenobi fighting. I suppose this is in probably some kind of Separatist hangar. Yeah, once again a really nice image. When opening this set, on the inside you're gonna find a total of 5 numbered bags, which is only 1 bag less than the Republic Juggernaut, which costs almost double the price, which is kind of crazy to think about. And you're also gonna get the instruction manual with a pretty straightforward building process and the little sticker sheet with a total of 6 stickers. Starting off with the first minifigure in the set, and this is Asajj Ventress. The last time this character got a LEGO minifigure has been in 2015, so all the way back 10 years ago, so it's nice to finally see her return. And even though I'm not entirely sure where this outfit is based from, I think she looks really cool. I don't think that this is the Tartakovsky 2D Clone Wars micro series from back then, but I also don't really think it's the Clone Wars look from her from the 3D animated TV show. Here we have the Hasbro The Black Series version of Ventress, and you can see there are quite a lot of details missing on this minifigure, such as the bandages on the arms, and also the belt piece and this, I don't know what it is, this stripe down the middle with all these ornaments and details. So all these details are missing in the LEGO version, and while they sometimes cheap out on printing, I don't really think this is supposed to be the same look. But otherwise I'm pretty happy. I think the face print looks really great with all the purple details and markings she has, and also the red lips and the eyes. Yeah, I think here the new eye printing method for Siths and aliens and such works really well. I think it looks really cool on her. Also the torso printing and the leg printing looks really amazing. She of course comes with her lightsabers and the nice custom lightsaber hilts that she gets every time she gets released. She got some nice printing on the back of the head and also on the torso, which looks really great. Please let me know down in the comments below if you know where this outfit is based from, as I don't think this is from either of the Clone Wars TV shows, but overall I really like this look of Ventress. Next up we have the Clone Wars look for General Obi-Wan Kenobi, and this is a figure I have dreamed of. I didn't really think that LEGO would revisit the Clone Wars looks for these characters, at least not that quickly, and I really love this figure. This is of course the Clone Wars season look with the clone armor parts that they still use as Jedi Generals, and it looks really amazing. The torso printing is awesome with the clone chest plate thing. Then when you move further down, here's of course the clone boots, or like at least some part of the leg armor, which looks really great. And generally the torso and leg printing is really cool. Obi-Wan comes with a double-sided face print. One side is a more smirking look or neutral expression, and the other side is a more angry, concentrated, focused fighting face, which I both really like. And the biggest part about this minifigure is of course the arm printing on both sides, and this looks really amazing. On the one side there's just some normal clone armor, and on the other side you got more clone armor with the comlink and also the Republic Jedi symbol on there, which I don't know why, but it looks so damn cool when Jedi have these clone armor pieces on. I love this look from the Clone Wars, and it's really great that LEGO made this figure. After we got the mid-Clone Wars season look from Ahsoka, now we got the Clone Wars look for Obi-Wan. If they now do an Anakin in this style, I don't know, it would be so amazing. Now we get to my most desired minifigure from the set, and this is of course the Phase 1 Clone Trooper pilot. For years LEGO fans have been begging LEGO to do a new version of this pilot, as before they did just print the normal Phase 1 Trooper helmet with the pilot design, which was just inaccurate, as they do have a very different helmet design. And overall this look was just not accurate. As you can see here, compared to the 2013 version of the Phase 1 pilot, there is the fin. It was just the normal Phase 1 Trooper helmet, which was fully inaccurate, and now they made a whole new mold for this, which looks really cool. Moving further down, we of course have some nice torso printing with some air tubes and I think these kind of controls on the chest. Otherwise he has the same legs as most of the modern clone troopers, but overall this is just a really fitting minifigure. It just looks very nice and just, I don't know, I really love the look of this. The one problem I have though is when we compare this trooper in hand to the look on the render on the box, we see that the helmet printing is slightly different when it comes to the visor. And on the in-hand minifigure it is a little bit short and it doesn't fully extend to the side of the helmet like the yellow stripes above. While this is an accurate look if you want to replicate the version from the movie, this set is clearly based on the Clone Wars, I feel like, and I also think it just looks better when the visor is fully extended, and it's also the same look on the box, so I don't get why they didn't print it the same way as they advertised it on the box, and also the, in my opinion, better looking way. But now that we're finished with the minifigures, let's take a closer look at the actual build of the set, the V19 Torrent Starfighter. And I do have to admit, it looks like an absolutely great build. I think LEGO was really able to capture the design of the V19 Torrent quite well, and also all the angles and shaping looks really nice. I think it looks like a really solid build here. I think it's also worth pointing out that LEGO finally changed the windshield color on the cockpit piece. Now it's yellow, which is accurate to the Clone Wars show, and not black or grey anymore like it was in the last version, and I think it does really look nice. On the front of the model you're gonna find two stickers as these kind of turbines, or I don't know what they really are, but it looks like that. Sadly, those are stickers. I would much more appreciate prints, of course, but yeah, it does add some nice details. Continuing with stickers, the Republic logo on the side is a sticker as well, which is quite unfortunate. And on both sides of the wings there is a little stickered piece with these red and white stripes. And there's one other sticker on the inside of the cockpit, which adds some control things. Yeah, overall I like these stickers here, and I think they are worth applying because they add some fair amount of detail that wouldn't be there otherwise and that you couldn't really achieve by building techniques. But on the other hand, by the prices that LEGO often charges, I think they could print more, as I don't remember any printed piece here in this set. Correct me if I'm wrong. Which is a little sad, especially that Republic logo would have been an awesome print. I also really like the back side of the model with those engine thrusters and everything. I think it's really well designed and it looks quite cool even from the back. Of course, the better side to display the set and to look at it is from the front, but also the back looks really nice and it seems finished. Before we're gonna discuss the play features of this model, I do have to say that the V90 Torrent is a very sturdy and stable build, which is much appreciated after my last review of the Republic Juggernaut, which does tend to break very easily or is just not as sturdy in the feeling as this set. And I really appreciate it, especially on a Starfighter, which you're gonna swoosh around when you want to play with it. It's really nice that this is such a sturdy model. Now for the play features, you can of course open up the windshield piece to reveal the cockpit, and you can sit your clone pilot down in there. This works pretty easily and it goes quite well, so there's no real problem here. And it looks really cool when it's all closed up and that clone troopers peeking through the yellow windshield here. Now when you want to get your V19 Torrent to a flying position, you can of course just pick it up and move both of the side wings down. Both are connected via a ball joint, or let's better say two ball joint connections, so it's a pretty stepless way to move this down. The most iconic feature of the V19 Torrent is of course the moving back fin. You can just simply remove it from this clip connection here and move it down. The connection on both sides works the same, so it's this little bar which goes into two C-clips, so it clips in there. This is not a really hard clip, it's more like a smooth connection, so you're not gonna hear it really clicking, but it's still pretty sturdy and it holds its position quite nicely. And this goes for both ways, so whether you want to move this fin up or down, this is the same connection and pretty much the same feature. And the last play feature this set has to offer are both of the stud shooters on the wings. Yeah, you can't really complain, this works pretty nicely and they are also well integrated into the design. So what is my overall opinion about this set? I think overall this is a really nice model. I think it is priced quite fairly, especially compared to some other models of this wave. I think overall the design for this ship is really nice, especially in the flying position. It can feel a little chunky when it's in the landing position, especially because there is no landing gear, which could have been a nice addition. But otherwise I think the design and all the techniques here are really nice. Also the play features this model has, they all work really flawlessly. The minifigures are great. The overall selection of characters is really nice, especially that we got another Asajj Ventress after I think 10 years. If this is the version based on the Clone Wars TV show, which I think this set is ultimately based on, she probably should have gotten arm printing for her bandages. Otherwise, it's still a great looking minifigure. Same goes for the clone pilot. I think it's a great minifigure. The only change I would make is that he has the extended visor printing like it's advertised on the box, as I think this does look better and is more accurate to the Clone Wars TV show. Obi-Wan Kenobi, however, is a flawless minifigure. I think the arm printing and in general the printing details are awesome on this character. The double-sided face is really cool, and it's overall just my favorite Obi-Wan minifigure that we have ever gotten from LEGO. I think this is just an awesome character here. So overall, I'm really happy and surprised about this set. It's a great set, it's probably one of the best of this wave, and it's also fairly priced, so yeah, I quite enjoy this set. But now definitely let me know down in the comments below what you think about this set. Is it on your list to pick up, or maybe not? Otherwise, please consider subscribing if you're new, and if you don't want to miss any of the other LEGO Star Wars 2025 Summer Wave reviews, as I'm gonna review the whole LEGO Star Wars wave on this channel. Please leave a like to support the channel, and other than that, have a great day. Back in 2021, LEGO released a playscale version of Boba Fett's Slave 1. A lot of people were asking for a recall of the set back then, however this did not happen until this year. And with that, welcome to my set review of set number 75433, Jango Fett Starship, or Jango Fett Slave 1, this is how it's actually called. This set is part of the LEGO Star Wars 2025 summer lineup. It contains 707 pieces, 3 minifigures and it retails for a price of roughly $70 in euros. On the front of the box we can see a very cool image of Jango Fett Slave 1 floating in space in the asteroid field over Geonosis. This is of course based on episode 2, where Obi-Wan chases the Slave 1 through this asteroid field and hunts down Jango and Boba till they arrive on Geonosis to see the droid factory, and yeah, you basically know how it continues. It's a very cool image, I really like this front of the box. On the back side of the box you're gonna find the Slave 1 in a landed position on Kamino, which looks once again really nice. And you see the play features that the set offers, and also the Kaminoan minifigure which is included in the set, which I'm very hyped about. When opening this set, you're gonna get a total of 6 numbered bags, an instruction manual with a pretty straightforward building process, and a sticker sheet with a total of 5 stickers. I know I'm kind of repeating myself, but if you remember, the Republic Juggernaut had about 6 bags as well, and only 106 pieces more, and costs more than double the price. Yeah, I will never get how they came up with the price tag for the Republic Juggernaut. Starting off with the first minifigure in the set, this is of course Jango Fett, as it's his ship. This is basically the same version as the version you get in the UCS Slave 1, besides the arm printing. This one doesn't have arm printing, which can be a little disappointing for everybody who just wants to get the cheaper set, but I kind of get their reasoning. They just want to have a more exclusive and more desirable minifigure in the more expensive set, which I totally get. You still get a very nice other exclusive minifigure in the set, so yeah, I'm not too disappointed about this decision. But you still do get a lot of the nice details on this minifigure in this set. You get the nice torso printing, also some hip printing, which nicely continues the printing down to the legs, and also some feet printing. So yeah, awesome details on this figure on the front. Now sadly on the back side we can see a little bit of the face printing peek through there, as Jango has a double-sided face in this set, which I like. But yeah, this just doesn't look that good, so yeah, a little nitpick on my side. And here we have Jango without his helmet, and he has the same hairpiece as the clone cadets got in the GWP, which of course fits him pretty well, as he's the DNA donor for the clones. So yeah, I really like this hairpiece. The double-sided face print is also really nice. He got some scars on his face, and he has this one more neutral face and one more angry, concentrated, focused fighting face. Yeah, I like these both equally. Now here's a quick comparison to the last Jango Fett we've got in 2013, before the release of the UCS Jango Fett Slave 1. This was also in a, I think, $30 playset, so it's kind of comparable to this version. And now, even though this new version of Jango in this playscale set here is missing the arm printing from the UCS figure, I still think you can see a lot of improvements on this printing and the details overall, especially the feet printing. And also the new rangefinder piece looks amazing and way better than the old one. Yeah, I still think there's a lot of improvement here. The same applies to the face print here. I think the old one was solid for its time, but the new one is just way more accurate and has just a way better likeness to the actor. Next up we have young Boba Fett, which is also included in this set. This is the exact same version as the version from the UCS model, and yeah, it's the same mediocre version of this minifigure. In my opinion, it's a very inaccurate looking minifigure. The hairpiece doesn't match the actor at all, the color is wrong as he has brown hair, and also the hairstyle doesn't really fit him. I also think that they should have given him dual molded legs. When they did this with the hobbits in the Shire, it was amazing, and I don't know why they didn't give little Boba this, especially for the UCS version. I think to have dual molded legs to replicate the black boots that he wears would have elevated this figure by a lot. And now the third and last minifigure in this set is Lama Su, and it's definitely the most exciting minifigure in this set. We've never gotten this character before, and it's only the second Kaminoan minifigure that LEGO releases, and it looks once again amazing. We already got Taun We as the first Kaminoan in 2022 in Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter. This is now the second Kaminoan, and it looks once again amazing. I really like the design of the slope pieces that they use for the bottom of these Kaminoans, as the very slender and tall legs are pretty hard to replicate in LEGO style. The torso printing is amazing with awesome detail. And they also got most of the details right when compared to the actor, or yeah, let's better say the CGI model from the movie. It's also great that they integrated the collar in the mold of the headpiece, which looks really great, and it's also a very important detail for Lama Su. And also the headpiece with this little fin that he has on top looks really great. The printing is once again stellar on this minifigure. It's an awesome release. I'm so hyped to get this minifigure. This has also been one of the most important characters that was missing from LEGO from episode 2. Now to finally get this minifigure in this set is amazing. There are of course still a couple of characters that are still missing, like Dexter Jetster, but now that we got Lamassu, I'm very happy. Now that we're done talking about the minifigures, let's take a look at Jango's Starship itself. And I do have to say, overall this is a pretty good looking build. LEGO was able to capture the silhouette and the overall look of the Slave One in the movie in this small version quite well. And it looks pretty nice. It's not as breathtaking as the big UCS version when you got it on display, but it's still a nice display model, especially if you don't have as much space or money. The top section above the cockpit looks pretty nice. There are a couple of stickers, 4 in total, 2 of these blue ones, 2 of these green ones, to add some detail. They're okay, not really necessary in my opinion, but yeah, it adds some detail, so I applied them. Overall, the top section looks pretty nice. They were able to round out the whole shape pretty nicely with all the slopes and the building techniques, which looks really great. The white wings on each side of the Slave One look pretty fantastic as well. The grey connection is fairly detailed and also really sturdy, so you're not really gonna have to worry about the wings falling off. And once again, the shaping and all the angles around the wings look pretty stellar. All the bricks and slopes come together very nicely. Now overall, I really like the front design of this ship. I think when it's in this flying position it looks pretty great. And all the shaping and everything is pretty nice. They've put a really nice model together, especially at the size of this set. I also really like the nose section at the front with all this green coloring. I only would have wished that this green sticker on the white parts would have been a print, because yeah, you can very easily apply it slightly off like I did here and then it doesn't look as great. Otherwise, I really like the 4 stud shooters at the bottom of the nose. While I would have preferred some brick built things that just are there for the detail, I totally get why they did this as play features, and I think they are well integrated into the design. And they also improved the cockpit area compared to previous versions of this model. However, there's still a small gap there, which I would have hoped that they have fixed this. I'm also a big fan of the backside of this model. They didn't leave it just unfinished, they really finished it off and put a lot of details in there. Especially the engines look pretty nice, and they even included the red stripe down there, which makes the whole back section look like a smiley face. But this is actually accurate to the design of the Slave One, so yeah, big thumbs up for that. And here is one of my favorite play features with the set, the carrying handle. This is pretty much missing on the Juggernaut, and here they included it, which is great. You can just pull it out pretty easily. It's also well integrated into the design, so it won't look bad if you look at the set from the backside. And then you can just fly around the Slave One. The handle is at a very comfortable position, so the balance is pretty nice and it's also pretty sturdy. So yeah, you can swoosh your ship around pretty easily. I also do want to point out how great this model looks when it's in the landed position. Of course, if the model overall is great, it's gonna look good in the landed position as well. But it just looks really cool when it's in this landed position, like on Camino. I think if someone would build a little diorama for this, such as the Camino landing platform, this would look really awesome. Maybe this is an idea for a future video. Definitely let me know down in the comments below if you would be interested in something like this. You can of course open up the cockpit and put Jango and Boba in there. You can put Boba in the back of the set, and he's not really secure on any studs, so he's kind of floating around there. But he's kind of secure as the angles around him secure him pretty well. Then when you put Jango in the seated position in front of him, he's secure in the back. He won't really fall out, he's just not on studs. This looks really cool, especially it's really nice that they included this in such a small model and that they were able to build the area so big that both minifigures could fit. However, there's sadly not really any detail in the cockpit besides something in the back, so no control panels or anything. This had to go to the small scale. Now when you want to turn this model into flight mode, you're gonna have to turn these wings manually yourself. They are gonna droop down a little by themselves, but they're not gonna hit the full horizontal position that they should hit by themselves, as they're just not big enough. But you can pretty much spin them around as much as you want, so this is not really a big problem. Just like the 2021 version of Boba Fett Slave One, the Jango Fett Slave One gets this little transport card that can double as a display stand. It has some inverted tiles on the bottom of this model, so you can slide it around pretty easily. And you can of course raise this back section up, so you can put it in the back on the ship. And it locks kind of into place like this, and then you have a little display stand, so you can display the Slave One in the flying position, which is really cool. Now while LEGO didn't have to do this with the set, I really hope this becomes more of a standard, that we get a couple of display stands with these sets in the playscale sets as well, as this makes just the display of a set so much more easy, and it just looks very cool. As far as the stud shooters go, you can of course fire all 4 of those. You can fire 2 of each on each side simultaneously, which is a pretty neat feature. Now while you can shove a dude frozen in carbonite up the loading ramp, you can open up this section of the loading ramp and put some seismic charges in there. You can put them in there pretty easily and then close it up again. And now when you're getting chased by a certain Jedi, you can push this little part at the bottom of the slave one, which triggers a mechanism that opens the door at the back, which releases both of the seismic charges. This is probably one of the coolest features in any LEGO Star Wars playset, and I really love it. It works so well, and when you pair this set up with the Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter from 2022, which both look very good on display together, it's just a very cool feature to play with. And now, while I already said it, if you combine the 2022 Jedi Starfighter from Obi-Wan with the 2025 Playscale Jango Fett Slave 1, they do make a pretty good duo. This is a super cool playset combo to play with, and also for display if you don't have the space for the big UCS model, which is of course more into scale with this Jedi Starfighter, it still looks pretty nice. What I don't get is why they didn't release both of these sets simultaneously, so just put them out on the shelves together, as they would sell pretty well, I think, as a duo, because they're meant to be together. So it's of course pretty disappointing that they are so far apart from release year, but yeah, it's still a pretty great release. Now overall, I do think this is a pretty great set. I think it absolutely makes sense to not lock this vehicle after so many years behind a $300 UCS paywall. So there's also a version for kids to play with, and also for people with a smaller budget or just not enough space for the big one, who also want the representation of this ship in their collection. Great minifigure selection, while I still don't like the small version of Boba Fett here, as it's pretty inaccurate. I really love the Jango and especially the Lama Su. I think this is just a really great minifigure selection and a great set. And if you compare that with the Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter, this is a stellar combination. But now feel free to let me know your opinion down in the comments below. I would highly appreciate a like to support the channel. Stay tuned for all the other LEGO Star Wars 2025 summer reviews. If you're new, please consider subscribing, and other than that, have a great day. It took LEGO over 10 years to remake this vehicle, and the last time they did it, they got a lot of hate because it was very small. So the question is this a worthwhile remake, or is it just another overpriced small set? And with that, welcome to my set review of set number 75435, Battle of Felucia Separatist MTT. Obviously, the set is part of the LEGO Star Wars 2025 summer lineup. It contains 976 pieces, 12 minifigures, and it retails for roughly $160 and 150 euros. When opening this set, you get a total of 8 numbered bags, a small sticker sheet with a total of 4 stickers, and an instruction manual with a pretty straightforward building process. Starting off with the first minifigure, and this is the standard B1 battle droid, you get a total of 6 of them, which makes absolutely sense as this is a troop transporter. And these have been the same minifigures for years. I think this is still the same version as in 2007 when they changed the arm. Otherwise, this is basically the same minifigure ever since they started doing these, and they don't need to change them. I love these battle droids, they look great, they absolutely work with the mold they have, and it's just an awesome minifigure. Great to get them. After 12 years, the Commander droid makes his comeback, and this is a new color variant. This time they decided to go for the gunmetal gray, the same color that the blasters have nowadays. And while I think it looks really cool and badass, I don't think that this is the accurate color that they should have come in. Here you can see the old version from the Commander droid, which was introduced in 2012, if I remember that correctly. And this is in brown, or like dark brown, which is the way more accurate color in my opinion when you look at the source material. Now, the new one looks cool, especially with the new printing on the torso and everything, and they feel more stable in my opinion, but overall I think the brown is just the more accurate color and the color that these droids should have come in. Otherwise I think they look really cool, but the color is just inaccurate in my opinion. The last droid in the set is the B1 Battle Droid Pilot. It's basically the same figure as a B1 Battle Droid, but with a blue torso. And the blue torso got a print on it. I think they should print it in double layers, so it is not as transparent. Otherwise it's a solid figure and definitely needed to pilot the MTT. Now for the first very exciting minifigure in the set, and this is Ayla Secura. It's been the first time since 8 years that we finally have this character again in LEGO form, and I think it's a really great looking figure. She got some awesome printing on the torso and also on the hips, continuing over to the legs and the feet. She has some nice printing on the backside and this awesome custom molded headpiece for her with the Leku, I think they're called. And also just the brown headpiece that she wears and all these prints around her Leku and everything. It looks really cool. She has a double-sided face print, one with a more neutral or smiling looking face, the other one with a more concentrated angry fighting face. I like both of these face prints pretty much the same. Compared to the older figure from 2017, this is pretty much the same figure for the most part. They changed a bit of the color and just of the printing in general. I prefer the new one, I have to say. I like the lip color more, that it's now not this flashy pink anymore. And also the leg printing looks better in my opinion, with more details and also feet printing, which looks really cool. Otherwise they are pretty much the same. So if you have the old one, yeah, you're not missing out on that much if you don't want to get this new set. Slowly but surely, LEGO is giving us all of the Clone Commanders that we still need. This is another addition to this collection. This is Clone Commander Bly. And besides some inaccuracies, I really like this figure. Now, he comes with the micro binoculars, which is accurate to the character. However, the helmet print is not fully accurate. For the most part, it's a pretty nice helmet print, which is accurate. But the cheeks shouldn't have been gray. They should have been yellow, which I don't know why they did it in gray. Yeah, it's more cohesive and fitting with the other clones that LEGO has been giving us. But still, the yellow cheeks would have been more accurate and so also better looking. So I don't know why they couldn't do that. The torso print for the most part looks pretty nice. It comes with this new pauldron piece that the 327th Troopers got as well. He continues to print over the hips to the legs. And once again, sadly, he doesn't come with a physical waist cape. He has this printed one, which just looks bad. It looks cheap. It doesn't look good. I will always advocate for physical waist capes. Under his helmet, you're going to find the standard clone face. And now, while Bly isn't fully accurate to the source material, he still looks really great. And especially with those 327th Troopers from the battle pack, he looks amazing. Now, with the prices of these sets, it's not going to be that easy to army build them, as $40 is still a heck of a price tag for a battle pack. But if you have these characters together on the shelf or just in general, they look so cool together. And combining Isla with Bly and the 327th Troopers looks really amazing. You can replay the Order 66 scene, of course. You can build some nice mocks or just display them the way they are. They're really badass and they look really cool. So overall, this is an amazing minifigure lineup and I'm super happy with the choices. Some minifigures are slightly inaccurate, but overall, it's great. Now let's take a look at the build of the set. And the MTT honestly is really fantastic. Now the coloring and shaping is really awesome. They got a lot of the details right on this model. You have this big printed piece on the front side, which looks amazing. The stickers don't look as great, but the shaping on all the side panels and everything looks really nice. I think the back section / hip section, if you know what I mean, could have been a little bit more extended to the sides. But otherwise the proportions are really great, especially in such a small build. The shaping at the front and especially the top section is really on point. The blue and gray lines are accurate for the most part. At least I didn't notice any major flaws in these. So the coloring and shaping is really great in this model. The only real nitpick I have on this set are maybe the cannons, because they are way too small when compared to the in-universe MTT from the Clone Wars show. But otherwise, this is a really great model. It's still not $160, but we'll get to that. As far as play features go, you can of course remove the top section of the MTT to reveal some interior. This is where you can put the B1 Battle Droid pilot to pilot the MTT. Because there's not a lot of space, the droid has to more lay in this section than really sit in there. But I think it's still fine, he can still pilot the MTT. There's a nice sticker on the inside as this little control panel here. Usually I'm fine with stickers when it comes to control pieces, however I don't like the sticker on the outside, this kind of vulture droid eyes that you have on the top of the MTT. They don't look good because the gray doesn't match the color of the Lego brick gray at all. So either print this or find a brick build solution. Yeah, I don't know, if you can print the whole front section like this nose piece, which is an awesome print, why not print this too? But otherwise the front and especially the top section are really well built. A lot of great angles and shaping that they were able to achieve. They've done a really great job on this. You can open up both side sections of the MTT and you can do this on either of these sides. So basically 4 panels that lift up. I don't know why they had to use these bright and popping red pieces at the front. I mean, you can't really do anything with the front section of the interior because this is just used for the mechanism. But yeah, I don't know why these pieces had to be included. On the back side there is not much as well. But you can see a part of the mechanism, and there's also a weapons rack, if you can really call it that, because they just stick the weapons into the skeleton of the MTT, so there is not really a weapons rack, it's just some open studs where you can put the weapons in. I mean, it's better than nothing, but yeah, it looks really sad. And the back section does open up as well, you can move this up and down. This reveals some kind of interior, but yeah, once again, there is not much space, this is just for the step to lay in there, so you can transport it with the MTT. The thing below that is just for the mechanism of the droid's rack at the front, so there's not much to do besides putting the step in here. But yeah, at least you can transport it with your big vehicle. Then there's also the step that is included with this set. This is a pretty similar build to the last step that we've got. It's a solid build, I can't really complain about anything, but yeah, it's also nothing to be majorly excited about. What I do really like about this model is that they added a total of 6 wheels, so 4 of these black ones in the back and 2 of these grey ones in the front. This adds for some really nice playability as your MTT can now really roll and kind of hover above your ground. And yeah, it's really nice to play with this, it's a nice feature. You can also fire both of these dart shooters. They kind of work on this model here because the actual MTT also has some pieces that look like eyes for the model. However, I still think a brick build version of something that represents the details from in-universe would have looked better. But yeah, it's play model, so dart shooters are fine. And now here is one of the greatest play features on any LEGO Star Wars model of all time. The droids rack does actually move out and deploys the troops on the field. This is such an amazing play feature. So you have to turn this knob on the backside, and it honestly triggers the hell out of me that it's not centered in the mid. But I can forgive them because this mechanism works so smoothly and flawlessly. It's amazing. The MTT does already look very cool when it's closed up, but also the open position with the deploying mechanism looks really great. It's such a cool model. This play feature works very flawlessly. I never had any issues with the doors closing or with the droid's rack getting stuck or anything. It works really perfect. Amazing. It's also worth pointing out that when you retract the droid's rack back into the MTT to load it up, it actually closes the doors with the play feature. On previous models you had to do this manually, which is such a nice addition. It's such a great play feature. It's amazing. I can't stop talking about how much I love this. When you're comparing the size of the MTT to the clone Juggernaut, they are pretty similar in size. I think the MTT is maybe a little bit more compact, but it also doesn't have a lot of hollow space because of the wheels like the clone turbo tank does. Yeah, they feel both very small. The MTT luckily feels a little bit more sturdy, but yeah, they're just overall really small. When you compare both of these models to the ATTE is way bigger and it's just 3 years old, so yeah, I don't know. It seems a little bit crazy that this is just 3 years apart and they are so much smaller. But what really shocked me is when you compare these two new models from the August wave to some really old playsets. This is the Republic Cruiser from I think 2005, and I know inflation, yada yada yada, but still comparing these two models size-wise, it's just really insane. I know the new models are more sturdy, have sometimes better features, or do look better, are more detailed and more sturdy, but comparing these models size-wise to some old sets is really crazy. And I do think size matters when it comes to LEGO Star Wars sets. A bigger set just feels better and it's cooler to have a bigger set. So yeah, it's really sad how small the sets have become. And I still think that $160 is too much for the set. I think $120 would have been way more fair for what you're actually getting. I like the MTT. It's a great model. It has amazing features, especially that droid's rack feature is amazing. It's one of the best features I've ever seen on any LEGO Star Wars model. And it looks really great, but still, I don't know, the models are very small and yeah, I don't know, the sets just feel tiny now. And now I hope that LEGO finally stops the trend of downsizing, because you can't do these models any smaller. If you continue to downsize, you will have to do like a midi scale model, which is not perfect for a play model, of course. So yeah, please LEGO stop downsizing. So overall, I think this is one of the best sets, if not the best set from the August wave. The price holds it back a little, which is sad, because otherwise it's a really great model. And for $120, I wouldn't be complaining that much, but 160 is just a steep price to ask for this. And yeah, it's a little sad that a lot of these sets get held back by the price tag. But now I'm very interested in your opinion about the set. What do you think about the MTT? Would you have preferred a brown version from the movies, or do you like the Clone Wars version? Also, what do you think about the prices and the continuous downsizing of LEGO sets? Please let me know down your opinions in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe to support the channel. I would highly appreciate that. And other than that, have a great day. In today's set review, we're gonna be taking a look at set number 75430, Wicket the Ewok. This set is part of the LEGO Star Wars 2025 Summer Wave, retails for roughly $130 and 120 euros, and contains 1010 pieces and one minifigure. On the front of the box, we can see Wicket in the wilderness and woods of Endor. There are some sun rays peeking through the tree trunks, which creates a really nice atmosphere. I really like this harmonious background for the box art. On the backside, we have the measurements for Wicket. We also have the little display plaque that comes with this set. And Wicket is standing in front of the fallen tree trunk, where he later on in episode 6 sits on with Leia to eat the cookie. I think this is a nice Easter egg and I really appreciate them doing this. When opening the set, you get a total of 12 numbered bags, an instruction manual, and finally a set without a sticker sheet. And even though it's rare, it's possible for LEGO Star Wars in 2025. Taking a look at the one and only minifigure in the set, this is of course Wicket himself. It's overall a pretty solid minifigure. I think they could nowadays print the legs, or at least the feet, to give him some toes or something like the Ahsoka from the Ahsoka show. But otherwise, these Ewoks have always been really solid. This custom molded headpiece, or yeah, it goes over the head and also over the torso, is a really cool piece. It has some awesome printing on it for the face and all his fluffy fur. The ears are molded into the hood, which is really nice, and the hood even got some printing on it to show some wear and tear. Overall, really solid minifigure. However, the back set is a bit boring. I think they could print something on the hood to show some wear and tear also from the back. But overall, this is a really good minifigure and yeah, I can't complain too much. As usual, the set also contains a printed display plaque. I really like that nowadays it's the standard for these display plaques to be printed. I hated those days where these were big ginormous stickers. There is some information about Wicket on this which you can read if you want to, and you can also put Wicket next to the display plaque and display him with this. But now let's take a look at the actual build of the set, Wicket himself. And honestly, I think you're gonna hate me for this, but I actually kind of like this set. And I feel like my reasoning for this is because I don't see these LEGO buildable character builds and sets as a 101 replica or like a statue or anything like that. Because for these kind of things where I want to have a real good likeness and a thing where I can see the actor's likeness in it 100%, for these I buy action figures or even hot toys. But I don't expect a LEGO build to look 101 with the character in universe. Because on one side I don't think that this is really possible for a brick built version of something like this. And I also don't need it to be, because as I said, for these things I buy hot toys. And while I get it when you say that the faces often on these characters look ugly, and I wouldn't say that this is the cutest version of Wicket I've ever seen, I still think it's a really solid build and overall it looks really cool on the shelf. Because for the most part on this set they really nailed the angles and the overall look of the Ewok. The only real complaint I have looks-wise is probably just the face, which doesn't look as good as it could be, but it's also a very small scale to build something like this, so I don't really give the designer any fault for that. You just don't have much space for such a small creature like Wicket to build a very detailed face, and I think for what he could do, he did his best job. What I really like about the face section is just the whole shaping of the hood and everything, and the ears. It looks really nice, and also the face for the most part looks really nice. I think the little stubby nose that he has looks really cute. The eyes are luckily printed, which I really love. If these would have been stickers, I would have gone crazy. The mouth section is, I think, the one side of the set which doesn't look that good, in which you could think that this is an ugly model, which I overall don't think it is. I don't think that this ruins the whole set, but yeah, there is not much space to work with for the mouth, and this is not the most accurate and doesn't look as good as it could be. But overall, I still really like the face. I think a lot of the angles and shaping is really well done, and especially all this furry look that he has. It's really nice. I still think they did a very solid job on this. There's not much to improve besides the mouth section. I also like how the whole hood and this leather top that he has shapes around his body. And then also the fur look with these, I don't know how these pieces are called, but I think you get what I mean. Where it looks like single stripes of his fur hang out, which looks really cool and looks kind of natural. And also the feet are really cool. Nice building technique for the toes and everything. Yeah, it looks just very cute on him. The back section, however, looks a little bit lackluster and unfinished, as it's overall very rectangular, and they didn't try to really round out the shapes on the back side and especially on the feet, which just looks like two rectangulars next to each other, which kind of ruins the look from the back. I mean, you're of course not gonna display the set from the back, but still, they need to finish this better and just make it look better overall. And another thing about the set I don't like is some of the colors that are showing through, because they didn't really hide them well enough or just use different color bricks. At the top here you can see some lime green shining through the hood, which doesn't look good. On the side of the arms there's a lot of gray, red and pink shining through, which once again doesn't look good. As far as play features go on this model, you can move the ears a little bit, which is more due to the technique of building it and not really a feature, I think. The arm is not really movable as well. I mean, you have some space, but it's not really intended to do this. You can move all three of his fingers and open up the full hand, which reveals this little pin where you can put the brick-built spear in there, which works pretty easily. Then you can close the hand again to make him grab the spear, which looks very solid. On the other hand, you can open the full hand and all of the fingers as well, and you get this little piece that should replicate the cookie that he gets from Leia, and it's pretty easy to make him hold it. It's not very fragile or anything. I like this. And all of the toes are movable as well, but yeah, you're not gonna really move them around much or post them. I think this model is made to be paired with the buildable Chewbacca, which also got a lot of hate, and I still get why the people don't like this set with the face. But overall, I think they do give off a very good pair and a very good duo. They look really cool together in my opinion. And I still need to get the R2-D2 and C-3PO as a duo and put them next to them. But I still think these buildable characters, especially if you got a couple of them, can look really nice on the shelf. Now once again, I get why people don't like these sets, and especially the face sections on many of these sets. And I also think and agree with the idea that droids are more suitable for this kind of series that LEGO does here with the buildable characters. But I still like these builds. I don't know why, I think they have some charm to it. If I want a 101 version of a character in a display piece, I get a hot toy or an action figure. But I want something to be built out of LEGO. And I don't think that it's that bad to see that it's out of LEGO, because this is the cool part. If I wanted a 101 replica of a Millennium Falcon, I wouldn't have the UCS one, I would just get a model to build. But I want a LEGO UCS Millennium Falcon. This is the same case here. I want a LEGO version of a buildable Wicket. This is what I got. When it comes to the price, I think this set is once again sadly overpriced in my opinion. 130 bucks is just way too much for what you're actually getting. I think 100 could have been a solid price and a lot of people would have been more, okay with the price and the whole look of the set. But 130 bucks for round about 1,000 pieces, only one small minifigure, which is Wicket, it's just not enough. You can't really do much with the build model in general, as it's just something you just play. It doesn't have a lot of play features. It's not as appealing as a gunship or something like that. And it also doesn't have a lot of minifigures. So 130 bucks is just, it feels unreasonable. But yeah, these have been my thoughts about the buildable Wicket set. Let me know down in the comments below what you think about Wicket and the buildable characters line in general. Is it something that interests you, or do you just think that they look ugly? Do you prefer the droids, or do you also don't care about them? I'm really interested to see what the people in general think about these buildable characters, as I feel like I'm one of the only people really liking this line. So yeah, I would highly appreciate your comments below. I would also highly appreciate a like to support the channel if you enjoyed this video. Please consider subscribing if you're new, and other than that, have a great day. In today's set review, we're going to be taking a look at this year's second and overall third Endor set from LEGO. This is set number 75434 K2SO. It is of course part of the LEGO Star Wars 2025 Summer Wave. It contains 845 pieces, one minifigure, and retails for a retail price of roughly $90 and 90 euros. On the front of the box we can see the K2SO build in front of a kind of Yavin looking background. I think this is kind of the Yavin temple that the rebels have a base in episode 4. And on the backside there's K2SO in a different kind of pose. It looks like a different background environment, some kind of spaceship or hangar look. Overall the box is very simple, but I think it works. When opening the set, you get a total of 8 numbered bags, a sticker sheet which we will discuss later in this video, and an instruction manual with a pretty straightforward building process. Starting off with the one and only minifigure in this set, this is of course K2SO. It appears to me that this is the exact same minifigure that we already got in the U-Wing set from this year, and because I couldn't find the old figure from the Krennic shuttle, I had to use the comparison shot from the U-Wing video, and here you can see the figures are pretty much the same for the most part. There are some slight differences in the printing. I don't know if there are any differences in the mold, could be, but I don't know. But the printing is just slightly different, but yeah, pretty much very similar. And as with all of the buildable characters, K2SO has a spot right next to the printed plaque. I don't typically use these, but I really like that they are included as they add some kind of high-end display piece kind of vibe, which I think is really cool. And of course, if you want to read all the details on the display plaque, feel free to pause the video and do so. But now let's move on to the actual interesting part about the set, of course the buildable K2SO. And I do have to say this might be one of my favorite, if not my favorite set of the buildable characters line. While I didn't build every single set of this kind of subline, I built a couple of them with Chewbacca, BD-1, Grogu and so on. And I haven't built C-3PO and R2-D2 yet, and I think I will prefer those once I've built them because they're just more iconic. But from the look and from the feel, I think K2SO is a really great set. The whole shaping and angles that they were able to achieve are amazing. The whole droid feel and look that this character has is really great. And just the whole way the pieces come together to build this whole droid body and all the different parts is just, it's very cool to build it. Size-wise, and especially with the display base, it feels kind of like a hot toy just in Lego form, which is really awesome. And overall, I just love the look of the set on display. There's a really cool comparison shot at the end of the instruction manual, and here you're gonna see that especially compared right next to the in-universe look, the Lego model is really great. Maybe the torso section and also the thighs are a little bit short compared to the in-universe look, but otherwise I think it's a really well-built model. In my opinion, the designer was really able to capture the lengthy and thin look of the droid in-universe and really translates pretty well into the Lego design. Now what I think is a really cool option is to display K2SO without the stand, as you can pretty simply remove him from the base. While I don't think that this is really intended by the designers, as there is nothing of this mentioned in the instruction manual or on the box, I think it's a pretty solid option and he is pretty stable in this pose without the base. Of course he's more likely to fall over because he stands more securely on the base, but I think this is not really something that will happen to you so easily, especially if K2SO stands at a secure place. And of course, if you choose so, you can pretty easily put him up on the base again. There are these 4 pins that go into his feet. This is actually one of the first things that you build is the base, and then you add the feet and the lower legs to the base and then build the droid upon this. So it's pretty easy to remove him from the base or to add him onto it. You You just have to be a little careful to not destroy anything or tear anything apart. Speaking of the feet, this is probably the worst part about this set, or at least the worst looking part. It's not necessarily bad, but the feet are a little bit clunky and don't look as well shaped as the rest of this build. But I think it's fine because the set needs to have a sturdy base for it to function well. But the upper section looks amazing. The whole shaping around this hip section is really great. I also like that they used these yellow and red axles in between the legs to connect this, because it kind of gives a wiry look to K2SO, which of course fits because he's a droid. Now on the belly and also on the chest you're gonna find a total of 3 stickers. They add some nice detail, and LEGO usually matches the black color to the black brick color fairly well, so it doesn't look really bad. It adds some nice details. I still think prints would have been better, but yeah, it's okay. However, I love the building techniques for the upper body section. I really like how the hip and belly section move into the upper body part. And the upper body part is more broad and has more mass to it, and it still works pretty well. It looks really cool. Also, the building techniques on the arms, or the transition from the body to the arms, look really great with these yellow details there and these rings that they use. And the shaping around his neck and the head is also amazing. I also like that they used a building technique for the head, as they could easily use a mold for this, as they had something for the buildable figures back then. But now it's a building that looks really nice. Also the white pins used as eyeballs, or like the eye section at least, looks really cool. It works really well. It's a really nice build. On both sides of the arms you're gonna find a sticker for the Imperial logo, which I would have wished that this would have been a print. But otherwise, I really like the design for the arms, especially the forearms. On both hands, you're gonna find a sticker each, so 2 more stickers overall, which adds some nice detail and doesn't look too bad. The one thing I don't like about the building techniques around the arm is the hole on the upper arm. You can pretty clearly see it and notice it pretty easily, which doesn't look good, and I don't know why they didn't use a different kind of brick, or at least something to fill it up. Could have easily put a pin in there and just a plate or something like that to cover it up, which I don't get why, but yeah, it's not the biggest problem, but I don't like it. From the backside it looks really good as well. It looks way better from the backside than the Wicket that I've recently reviewed. It looks more finished and rounded off and just well put together from the backside. There is yet another sticker on his back, which adds some nice details, but once again I'll take prints over stickers any day. On the top there are some levers and other pieces to add some details, which looks nice. Overall, I really like the backside. Now for some play features or display options, you can twist the upper body from side to side pretty far, and the legs and everything goes with it. You can move the arms around, pretty much 360 degrees. You can move them upwards a little bit, but it gets blocked by the shoulder pieces. You're gonna have to watch that they don't pop off. You can bend the arms inward pretty much and pretty high up. You can also bend them to the backside, which looks a little bit cursed, so yeah, I won't be doing that on my display. You can twist your wrist sections pretty much 360 degrees around. The hands are on ball joints, so you have a lot of range of movement there, and you can pretty much move them everywhere you want to. All of the 3 fingers can be moved individually, and same goes for the thumb. If you remember the LEGO Thanos Infinity Gauntlet, yeah, you can hit some pretty similar poses with this figure as well. You can also move his head pretty freely, side to side pretty far. You can bend it downwards, and also in a straight position downwards. While doing that, you're gonna have to be a little careful to not dismantle the whole head, because it is still a brick build head, but it's very solid and usually pretty sturdy. He can look up a bit, but not that much. He's pretty limited because of his neck, but overall you can get the head in some very cool looking poses, and overall it's a really nice moving feature. So what is my overall opinion on the buildable K2SO? I think it's quite an underrated set from this wave. It gets quite overshadowed by some other sets, and I don't think that the set deserves it, because it's a really great looking model. I really love this combined with the U-Wing set from the previous Andor set that we got this year. It looks really cool together, and you get some really cool display options with both of these sets, and I really like the K2SO. I think it's one of the best LEGO Star Wars buildable character sets, and I think the look of it is really cool. So overall, I'm really glad I got the K2SO set, because it's an awesome display piece and I really like it on my Andor section on the shelf. But now let me know down in the comments below your opinion about the K2SO buildable character set. Would you appreciate more LEGO Star Wars Andor sets? Because I definitely would. And if you're new, please consider subscribing and to like to support the channel. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to check out the other LEGO Star Wars 2025 summer reviews, and other than that, have a great day! In today's set review, we're gonna be taking a look at what is probably the best LEGO Star Wars set from the summer wave, and this is set number 75417, Ultimate Collector Series ATST. As already mentioned, this set is part of the LEGO Star Wars 2025 summer wave. It contains 1513 pieces, 1 minifigure, and retails for a retail price of roughly $200 US in euros. And yeah, we will come back to this price later. On the front of the box you can see what is now the norm for 18 plus sets from LEGO. It's just the model in a black background with some kind of shine. On this model it's green, which is fitting because of Endor, but just imagine how cool it could look if you just had some Endor in the background like on previous box arts. Yeah, I think it's very sad that this is now the norm for 18 plus sets. On the backside you get at least some cool stuff. You get the measurements for the AT-ST, you see another angle of the AT-ST and also the display plaque. And on the bottom you can see some play features, the interior and also a picture from the movie, which is really nice. Overall it's a solid box design like most of the 18 plus sets, it's just pretty boring. I can only hope that we one day go back to the old 18 plus box designs, which were just amazing. When I think back to the Snowspeeder or the UCS Slave 1 from 2015, man, the good old days. When opening the set, you get a total of 14 numbered bags, of course an instruction manual, you get a pretty manageable sticker sheet with only 5 stickers total, and of course the printed plaque, which thankfully nowadays is the norm. Now taking a look at the one and only minifigure in the set, this is of course the AT-ST driver. And this minifigure is close to perfect, but sadly only close to. But let's start with the positive things first. Of course the helmet piece is once again awesome on this minifigure. It's got the nice goggles printed onto it and just looks really cool. It's quite interesting that this character doesn't have a double-sided face print, because you could very easily do a double-sided face print here without something on the chin showing through the helmet on the backside, but still the face print is solid and looks definitely good. I'm also a big fan of the torso printing and the way it continues over the hips to the legs. Looks really nice and clean, awesome printing. But the best thing about this figure is of course the arm printing, which you get on both sides of the arms. On the shoulder or the upper arm you get the Imperial logo, which looks awesome, and further down you get some wrinkles from the suit that he wears in the movie. This looks just really amazing, adds some nice detail, and it's definitely a UCS worthy minifigure. Speaking of UCS worthy minifigure though, I don't know why, but they didn't include dual model legs, and it would have been just such an easy change to make this minifigure in my opinion perfect. I don't need a double-sided face print, but dual model legs would have been the bare minimum in my opinion. And it's especially crazy when you're considering that they already included dual model legs in way cheaper sets, and they even included these legs that they should have used with this minifigure in way cheaper things like the collectible minifigure series. Like this Recool minifigure had these dual model legs that you could have just reused for this AT-ST driver, and they didn't, even though it's a $200 UCS set. I don't know, it just blows my mind. But I guess this is what you can expect from LEGO Star Wars nowadays, as they also don't include cloth waist capes in sets, but in other themes they clearly do. Which I still don't understand, but yeah, that's another topic and not relevant for this video. Overall, I really like the minifigure and I think it looks really great. Yeah, it's just the dual model legs would have elevated this figure to a whole nother level. I just don't get it. It is close to perfection, why not make it perfect already? As usual with the 18 plus and especially UCS sets, you can of course put the AT-ST driver right next to the printed plaque, which is of course printed nowadays, which is amazing. It looks also really good besides the little knob from the molding in the middle. If you want to read all the details on there, just pause the video. Otherwise it looks great. I think it's a really cool add-on for display, and yeah, it's just the typical UCS plaque. But now let's move on to the UCS AT-ST, and it's finally here. I've waited very long for this remake, and for quite some time I hoped that they would just announce a UCS AT-ST, and so I was quite glad when I found out about the leaks about the UCS AT-ST and that LEGO decided to remake this set. And in my opinion overall, just from the start, it's a worthy upgrade, it looks phenomenal. This is such a sleek model and it's just very sturdy and stable, it looks great in display, and now let's dive deeper into it. Starting with the feet, at the front we have this kind of toe from the AT-ST with the fence cutting blade, which looks really nice and you can move this up and down. Further back you have some more details like the ground sensors and everything, which looks also really great. Overall the whole foot is very tiled off and doesn't have a lot of stuff showing, which I really appreciate in the UCS model. You may or may not have noticed the 10 plate in the foot there, and overall these 10 plates or just 10 pieces are sprinkled all over this build. This is not a building error on my side or anything. This is how it's supposed to look, as they explain in the instruction manual. This should replicate some wear and tear and some dirt from Endor and just in general on the AT-ST, which we will get back to later. Yeah, I don't think it looks that great, but yeah, I will tell you my opinion about this later on. Speaking of the instruction manual, as usual with the UCS sets, you get a bunch of introduction pages at the start. And once again, there are some nice promo shots from the UCS AT-ST itself, and also from the movie and some concept art. I always really like when they do this, because it just gives this premium feeling. It's really cool. Coming back to the actual model, and here we have the ankle section of the build, and I think this looks just amazing. But this section does not only look good, but also adds a lot of stability and sturdiness to the model, because the AT-ST is of course very heavy at the top and doesn't have all too much stuff below. which of course comes at the expense of moving. You can't really move the legs at all, they're totally fixed in their position, which I don't think is a bad thing. I've moved the legs on my UCS 8080 once, and of course it's a cool feature, but I don't really do it often. It's just in one pose and it sits right there on display, and I think this is the same for the UCS 80ST, so I'd take stability over moving legs any day. To take a better look at the bottom and also on the bottom of the feet of the set, you can just simply remove the head. This is pretty easy and very simple. You can just pull the head upwards and it's just gonna come off because it's only connected with this axle piece here, so it's super easy to do that. As you can see on the bottom of the set, they also really try to finish it off nicely. You build this section separately and then flip it around and click it in there, and it's really nicely attached. It's a cool building technique. There are some nice details like these 10 pieces, which once again, personally, I don't really like. And you get this dome in the middle, if you know what I mean, and also a nice wire that gets attached there. Really nice. While your building technique for the feet is not that special, you just build some technique and then cover it up later with some bricks and also some plates. There are these 4 rubber pieces which I've never really seen before. Usually they would do this with tires. This is the way that they secure the UCS 8080 feet, not sliding all over your table or shelf or whatever. But here it's just 4 of these small black knobs which are rubber, and they do their job pretty well. So even if you try to push or slide the ATST around, it's not going to work because these rubber pieces work really well. So I'm very surprised about this technique because usually, as I said, these were tires in most of the other builds that I've seen. But yeah, it's a great building technique and it works. Looking from the top side of the ATST now without the head, you can see the connection between the legs and the main body part, which are these 4 plate connection things that you can see there. They are pretty sturdy and they hold the legs not only well in place, but also secure the sturdiness of the top of the model. As far as I know, it is not 100% accurate, and on an actual ATST it's just 1 connection, but I'll happily take this over just a very wobbly model. So yeah, the bottom section is very stable and very sturdy. You can even shake it, you can grab it up on one leg, on the other leg, on the middle, and even shake it pretty hard and it's not gonna break or anything. This is really great and I really love the stability on this model. Putting the head back onto the ATST is just as simple as removing it. You just put the axle in there, push down on the head, and boom, you got your ATST assembled again. On the front of the ATST you can move these shield pieces up and downwards and you can just adjust them the way you want to. On the side you get some nice greebling and details on the ATST legs and also a sticker on each side, which does not look good. I mean, the details on the sticker looks nice, but the color does just not match at all. I don't know why they can't match the color on most of their stickers, but if they can't, just print it, especially in a $200 Ultimate Collector Series set. This has to be printed or at least the accurate color. Now, while the backside doesn't look as good as the front, they still were able to recreate a lot of details and it looks pretty nice. Once again, a bunch of those 10 pieces which I don't like. I appreciate the effort and I appreciate the thought process of them, but yeah, I don't think that this looks really good or adds anything to the model. You have these air vents on the section of the body, which looks cool. You have some nice details on the back of the legs, which don't look as good as they look from the front, just because you see a lot of these negative studs. And on the head you have some printed pieces for these air fans, which looks pretty nice, and also some good amount of detail. So yeah, the back section is good. As expected, you can of course turn the head around and move it to the left or to the right side. Now directly under the head there is this tire piece out of rubber, which this time they didn't use in the feet to just secure the feet not sliding away. Now this time it's under the head to, I think, kind of dampen the pressure, and so the head doesn't wobble around as much. But I'm not entirely sure if this really works or if this adds to the wobbliness, because the head is still pretty shaky. But yeah, it's not the biggest problem. This is a display model, so yeah, I just wanted to point that out. But now that we're already speaking of the head, I think the proportions look fantastic on this model, especially on the top section, which is the head. I think overall the shaping and also the building techniques, how they achieve the angles and everything, are really cool. And just overall it is a really satisfying build when it comes together and it just looks really good on display. When it comes to play features, there's a lot to do on this head from the ATST. The blaster cannons are of course movable, so you can adjust them up and downwards. Sometimes they get a little stuck behind the plates here, but usually it works just fine. Of course you can close the viewports and open them the way you like. I think it looks solid when it's closed off, and it's also very accurate to what an ATST can do. But for me it's gonna stay open on display, I just think it looks cooler. On the left side of the head, you're gonna find the concussion launcher and you can turn this thing around 360 degrees. And I just have to point out how good this thing looks. It looks just 101 with the in-universe ATST. It's a very great building technique that they used here. It looks amazing. On the other side, you're gonna find the light blaster cannon, which does have a small shield which you can move. And you can also move the whole cannon around and turn it around 360 degrees. And it also looks very nice and is very detailed. These cannons on both sides of the ATST look just phenomenal. The drivers of course need some way into the AT-ST, and this is by this hatch on the top which you can open up. You can't really see a lot in here because it's pretty dark, but because you need to see some details, you can move the whole top sections back and flip it upwards, so you can actually see the interior. The interior looks pretty decent in my opinion, especially for this small room to work with here. It's of course not minifigure scale because this whole AT-ST is not minifigure scale, but otherwise it looks pretty good. You have these two brown chairs, which I do really like. What is interesting that they printed the black ingot pieces onto the sticker for the 2x3 tile, just because the connection wouldn't be really fitting for the ingots and they would just not stay in place. This is really the first time that I've seen LEGO printing a part onto a sticker. It's pretty interesting and also worth pointing out. The drivers get a nice view out of the AT-ST from those windows, and there are a bunch of printed parts and also a sticker in the middle to replicate some control panels. Here you can also see on the interior these connections with these rubber pieces to hold the side panels from the AT-ST into place. It's a pretty simple building technique, but it works great and allows for some great angles and also for not too big gaps. In general, there are very minimal gaps on this AT-ST head, which just looks very good. As you've probably already seen, the top hatch of the AT-ST is also fairly detailed. There are some nice building techniques and also some nice amount of greebling here. Looks pretty good. Now putting this new UCS AT-ST from 2025 next to the UCS AT-80 from 2021, they do look fairly great together. While this likely won't be my final display, as I probably still want to keep the smaller Hoth AT-ST next to the UCS AT-80, which is also more fitting when it comes to scale, I still think it's a great display option to display both of these UCS models next to each other. Of course, scale-wise they don't really match, as the UCS AT-ST is bigger than minifigure scale and the UCS AT-80 is about minifigure scale, but still those UCS models look so cool next to each other. It's still pretty crazy how the AT-ST gets dwarfed by the UCS AT-80, but yeah, it was about 4 times the price, so I think that's kind of normal. Speaking of the price though, and I of course have to address the price point of $200 for this set, and I don't think it's worth $200. The old UCS AT-ST from 2006 came with 1068 pieces, so about 500 pieces less, and came also with no minifigure. However, it was bigger when it comes to measurements, and it also, adjusted for inflation, was cheaper. Adjusted for inflation, the set would cost about $125 to $130 in today's money, and so I don't feel the $200 on this set now. The new model is of course the better model. It has a lot of better building techniques and just details. It's a lot more sturdy and just overall looks better and feels more like a UCS set. Still, I'd say it is a little overpriced. I think 160 or 170 would be a fair price in my opinion, but I just think $200 pushes the mark a little too far, and I just don't think it feels like $200. However, still, I think it's a very great model. I'm very happy that I got it, and I'm so happy that we finally have a new UCS AT-ST on shelves. I've waited for this quite a while, and I'm so happy that this set finally happened. But now definitely let me know your opinions down in the comments below. What do you think about the UCS AT-ST? Is it something you're interested in, or is it something that you would rather skip? If you're new, please consider subscribing to support the channel, and also to like if you enjoyed this video. Feel free to check out the other LEGO Star Wars 2025 summer reviews, and other than that, have a great day. In today's set review, we're gonna be taking a look at the probably weirdest yet also most creative LEGO Star Wars set from the summer wave, and this is of course set number 75414, the Force-Burner Snowspeeder. This set is based on the show Rebuild the Galaxy Pieces of the Past, a show that I have never watched, to be honest with you. It includes 349 pieces, 3 minifigures, and has a recommended retail price of $55 and 50 euros. On the front of the box, there's not only the Rebuild the Galaxy logo, but also all 3 of the minifigures and all 3 of the vehicles that you get in the set in action. In the background you can see some kind of landscape, which probably has some importance in the show, but as already said, I have not watched this show, and I also don't really plan to do this in the future, so I can't really tell you what this is about. On the backside of the box you can see the vehicles in the landed position, the characters are fighting, and you can see some of the play features such as the opening cockpit and also the speeder that you can drop out. When opening the set you get a total of 4 numbered bags, a sticker sheet with 11 stickers, which is insanely big for such a small set with only around 350 pieces. You get of course the typical instruction manual, and the cockpit piece comes in this brown bag, which should protect it against some scratches from the other pieces, which I think is a great idea. Starting off with the first minifigure in the set, this is the Greebling, and I think this is the Jedi / good guy in this set. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first time that we see a Jedi, or just a figure in general, with an orange lightsaber, which looks pretty dang cool. The printing overall on this character is also pretty good. He doesn't have arm printing, but the printing from the torso continues over the hips to the legs and the feet, which looks pretty cool. I think without the belt, which looks pretty Jedi-ish, if you get what I mean, I think this character could also fit in a medieval kind of setting, or could be a lot of the Rings minifigure, which is pretty interesting design-wise. On the backside he got some nice details too. Yeah, pretty fitting for this character from the overall design. Here's a double-sided face print, one with this more frowny face and the other one with a smiling and happy face, which I think fits the character well, I don't really know. Overall, it's a really nice looking character and I'm happy to have this figure in my collection. The second and in my opinion also more interesting minifigure is Darth Death. He comes with a red lightsaber and has this kind of battle damaged Vader / cyborg kind of vibe, which is really awesome. He has some amazing printing with some awesome details on the torso, which also continues over the hips to the legs and also the feet. And you got some arm printing on one side of the arm, which is his covered up arm. On the other side it seems like, his sleeve or something like that is missing. I do have to say, it's really awesome that LEGO decides to arm print a character in such a niche set. However, I still think it's crazy that the ATST driver didn't have dual model legs. If you can arm print a figure in such a niche set, why not in the bigger ones? But now let's get back to Darth Death. On the back side of his torso he also has some amazing printing. Overall the printing on this character is just phenomenal. He also comes around with a double-sided face print, one side with a more confused look and the other side with this more angry kind of Sith vibe looking face. This side of the face gives me more of the Anakin fallen angel type vibe, if you get what I mean, which looks really cool. Overall, this is once again a pretty stellar looking minifigure with some amazing printing and awesome details. I have no idea what this character does, but he looks dang awesome. In this set, the hairpiece is actually accurate and matches the look of the character in the show. I think it's pretty crazy that the young Boba in both Slave 1 sets from this year has the same hairpiece as this character and they both look not the same at all. The third and last minifigure in the set is Solidus. This is also a Duros just like Cad Bane, this is why they look pretty similar. He comes around with a pretty dark and mysterious looking vibe, especially because of that hood. He has a dual wielding lightsaber in purple, which looks pretty insane, especially because both of these lightsabers are chained together via this black chain, which is pretty cool. He has some pretty nice details on the torso, the hips and also on the legs, and he comes with this nice printing of a chain with a crystal in the middle, which looks pretty cool. The details on the backside of the torso are pretty lackluster, but it's gonna be covered up by the cape anyways. And he also doesn't come with a double-sided face print, which I think is interesting, but he has a hood on, so I don't really care. I think the minifigure selection for the set is pretty solid. I have of course no connection to all of these characters, but I think they all look pretty cool. Now that we're done talking about the minifigures, let's take a look at the builds of the set. The first of which is this little speeder bike, which overall does look pretty clunky and not that good. It looks pretty rectangular and doesn't have that many great building techniques. It also has two of these flame stickers in the front, which adds some nice detail, but I don't like stickers that much. As expected, you can of course put Darth Death on his speeder bike. You can just simply put him on the studs there and give him the steering wheel in his hands. With the figure on it does look a bit better, but overall, it's not the greatest speeder bike we've ever seen. However, the speeder bike does get a lot better with the play function with the Snowspeeder. If you open up the cockpit, you can see the little rod there in the middle, this yellow piece. You can just simply click the backside of the speeder bike onto there, and it's a super cool play feature. It is in there very securely and you can swoosh your speeder around, no problem. You can also pretty simply just remove the speeder bike and drop it off. This is a very cool play feature, it's super cool for kids to play with this, and just overall a very genius idea. Because of this play feature there is a pretty big gaping hole on the bottom side of the Snowspeeder, and it doesn't really matter if the speeder bike is in there or not, because there are some pretty significant gaps, but because the play feature is so cool I don't really have a problem with this. Speaking of the Force Burner Snowspeeder, this is a pretty fire build. Get it? Because of the flames. But seriously, this is a pretty nice build for a Snowspeeder, and I really like this fiery color scheme, even though it's not accurate to anything that is canon. However, if you like niche sets that are based on shows like Rebuild the Galaxy, you're really gonna enjoy this set in my opinion. On the front side you have a small sticker, which once again, I'm not the biggest fan of stickers, but it adds some nice flamey details, and overall the front section is really well built. There are not a lot of gaps, and overall just the shaping is really great. I think the side profile from the set might be my favorite. I love the flames on there, which all of them are stickers sadly, but they still look pretty fire, no pun intended. And all of the building techniques for the guns and everything and the shaping once again is pretty awesome. They also tried to make sure that there are not a lot of visible gaps. They used some ingot pieces to cover up the gaps there, and also some of these plate modified pieces in the front, these orange pieces with the railing there, to make sure that there are not really any visible gaps, or at least not big ones, which is really awesome. Speaking of awesome, I really love this new windshield piece that they specifically created for this set. I think it's probably gonna be reused in a different color scheme for a normal Snowspeeder in the future, and I also really hope so, because this is a great piece. It looks absolutely stellar. It's a phenomenal piece that they created for the set, and I think it's crazy that they first used this in such a niche set and not with a normal Snowspeeder, but I'm not really mad, because otherwise we probably wouldn't have gotten this colorway in any kind of set. But now I can only hope that LEGO sometime soon will release another Snowspeeder in this scale just in the normal color scheme, because this as a normal Snowspeeder would be amazing. But now to finish off the play features, you can of course open up the cockpit and put the Greebling in there. The only choice that I found interesting is that this time they didn't use 2 studs and 1 plate for the seat to not get the leg stuck in there. No, this time it's 4 studs, and I don't know really why they did this, but yeah, it works just fine for me, so you're not gonna really have a big problem with this, I think. There are also a bunch of printed pieces at the front to represent some control panels. Nothing special, but yeah, it's solid. The backside looks also pretty dang awesome, some nice details and some cool building techniques here. I think it also looks pretty funny if you use the angry face for Darth Death at the backside, so you can really utilize all of his anger in the gunner position here. Speaking of the gunner position, on this Snowspeeder you're not gonna find a tow cable. No, this time it's a stud shooter which has a lot of range of movement because it's on a ball joint. And you can pretty simply fire this off. Yeah, solid play feature and cool for kids. And the last build in this set is the stab. This is a bit of a more bulky version of a stab than the previous versions that you've probably got. But yeah, it looks pretty solid. It's a stab. It comes with the transclear stand. It's overall a pretty good build. This is the vehicle for Separatist. You can pretty simply put him on there, and he stands there pretty securely. What I think is interesting is that the steering wheel is upside down, but yeah, it's pretty simple to put him on there, and it looks pretty solid. Now you can have Sick Greebling and Darth Death chase Separatist, but yeah, once again, I don't really know what goes on in the show, so maybe it's vice versa. So what do I ultimately think about this set? I think $55 for this set is overpriced, and not only a little. I think 40, maybe 45 bucks would have been a fair price. And I think I would have been way more happy about the set with this price, as it's also a pretty niche set and not a lot of people are going to be that interested in this set, at least I think that. But otherwise I think it's a pretty awesome set. I think the build for the Snowspeeder is phenomenal. I think this with a normal color scheme would sell like hotcakes. I would really love LEGO to just release this set just in the normal color scheme for the Snowspeeder. Yeah, it would be awesome. So besides the price, I think this could be one of the best sets from this wave. But yeah, it's just from a very niche show, so not a lot of people are gonna be that interested in this set. And it's also not gonna get a lot of attention just because of the show it's coming from. But now, definitely let me know down in the comments below what you think about this set. And also, should I watch Rebuild the Galaxy? Is it worth it? I don't know. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider to like to support the channel. And also to subscribe if you're new and don't want to miss anything. Feel free to check out the other LEGO Star Wars 2025 summer reviews. And other than that, have a great day.